2016. Please call the roll.
Baker, Hoffman,
Here.
Clapper. Here. Throckmorton, Aquila.
I think he's
Here.
out there.
I know we will have another member join us shortly.
Yes.
We have some minutes to approve for this evening from 9/22/16. Any additions and or corrections? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes pass. Reports, resolution, and communications from staff.
We have none.
I apologize to petitioners that everyone's not seated on the board. We start promptly at 5:30. As long as you're comfortable, we're going to proceed. So is there any objection? Okay. First petition is Bloomington Car Wash, UV-28-16. Staff report, please.
Okay, good evening. Is this loud enough? Oh, it's not on, so that's why. Okay, good evening. Oh, I don't know if it's on. Is it on? Oh, there we go. As loud as possible. Okay. The property is located at 542 South Walnut Street on the west side of Walnut, 2 properties north of First Street. It's currently contains the Bloomington Car Wash. The site is 0.66 acres, zoned commercial downtown in the Downtown Gateway Overlay, and the GPP designation is Community Activity Center. The surrounding uses are a pawn shop, restaurants, and a grocery store. The request before you tonight is a use variance to expand the existing legal non-conforming use. So the car wash on site is not a permitted use in the commercial downtown zone, but is legal non-conforming, and they would like to basically update some canopies. They're doing some various work to update the way that the business runs, basically the way that people check in their vehicles. It's become a safety issue with employees having to pop in and out of cars because many cars nowadays cannot be left in neutral and turned off and run through car washes as they were when this kind of car wash was originally designed. So they have plans for kind of new check-in system, new stations that will allow the owner to remain in the vehicle the entire time, creating a safer environment for employees and the guests as well. But what that requires is that an existing canopy that they have before you enter the building that is fairly old needs to be taken down, and then new canopies will be put up over the new mechanicals. So that is considered an expansion of use, and that is why they need the use variance today. So this is the landscaping plan that was prepared. What will come along with, if this is approved, is some site plan updates. They will be altering their parking, which is currently along the northern property line. It will be moved closer to the building, again, improving safety for those employees who park there, so they won't have to cross the incoming traffic to get to their vehicles. And it will also bring some landscaping you can see here along the southern property line. And you can see here in red where the new canopies would be located. The Growth Policies Plan encourages retention of existing businesses, and Community Activity Center designation does make allowance for other uses along corridors in the area as opposed to residential. We kind of often think of residential when we think of downtown or first floor business, second floor residential, and community activity centers promote those in nodes, which this is not a part of. The Downtown Gateway Overlay highlights compatible development when adjacent to historic structures. Again, something else we think of a lot when we think of downtown, but this area is more of, is not that kind of area. There are not historic structures immediately adjacent to this property. So the BZA guidance given by the UDO for the downtown area just encourages basically intensified usage of vacant and underutilized sites and to basically follow the guidelines of the GPP. The Plan Commission heard this petition at its October 10th meeting and recommended approval of the use variance with a vote of 8-0. Staff recommends approval with the following conditions, that the use variance only applies to the proposal as submitted, and that any further expansion will require additional use variance review. And we found peculiar condition in the fact that the property is designed for such a particular type of development, the car wash, and that it's been in operation in its current format for over 40 years, but technology has changed so much in that time that in order for the business to remain safe, some updates might be necessary that this use variance could allow. So I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Petitioner's representative? Please step up to the podium. Please state your name.
Jordan? Root?
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You have up to 20 minutes to present your petition.
Okay. Well, basically, you know, the reason why we're trying to do this is for my employee safety. The car technology has changed so much here just in the 5 years, last 5 years. You know, our current process is when a customer pulls in, we take their order, they exit the car, go into the building, pay, and then there's a lobby area for them to wait. Some of these new cars, once we get them into our tunnel, we put the car in neutral, we can't shut them off. That means I have to have an employee ride the car through, which puts me short-staffed back on the back end. So I'm just wanting to get to a way where the customers can stay in their car as much as possible. Now, when the cars are exiting, obviously, current process is we jump in a moving car, start the car, put it in drive, pull it out. That will all change because the customer will be in the car, you know, and I'm trying to think here. And then another thing is with the parking the way it is, you know, we have entrances and exits from both College and Walnut. A lot of people like to use it as a cut-through. There's been plenty of instances where employees have gotten out of their car, took off the walk across, and here comes somebody flying from College to Walnut. We're trying to kind of stop that in a way too, with the different routes, and we're going to try to just let people only exit from exit onto College. We don't really want people entering from College if possible, just to make that a little bit safer. And that's about it.
Thank you very much. Questions for staff and/or petitioner by the board?
Not a question, but if you'll indulge me. I just want to say, my first ever job was driving cars in and out of a car wash. I know exactly the safety issues you're talking about. I watched a man get caught in between the car and the
Yep.
machines. So that's it.
That's an interesting fact. Joe?
So the college entrance, current entrance, is going to be marked as exit only?
Well, that's what we're going to try to do, but I know it's not going to stop everybody, so.
Okay.
And on busy days where we'll get, like, you know, on a normal busy day, we'll get wrapped around, well, what the picture you see around the cars there, it'll be going back towards Walnut. We'll probably cone that completely off and just make everybody enter from Walnut when it gets that busy.
Thank you.
Just a clarification, the image is up now, and then the actual plan that's done.
Landscaping.
Yeah, the landscaping plan is, which one is the plan? Because they're not the same.
I mean, I think, well, I'll tell you what I think, then we'll see. This is the plan here that's been designed for the site. And then they contracted with Bynum Faneuil just to do a landscaping plan only. So you can it's hard to see on here, but they did try to hatch out this southern landscape portion, like on the left side of the picture, to indicate that landscaping would be there, but they didn't have the landscape plan done yet. So is that correct, that this is mostly the site plan, but then the other one is just the landscape addition?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so then a follow-up question is there parking along the north edge of the site that's going to remain, or is it going to actually be a lane that looks like there's a bypass lane?
It's just going to be a lane.
It's going to be a lane.
Yes,
So
it's
those
gonna
are
be
going to, those parking spaces are going to go away.
Yeah, that's why we're moving those parking spots that's why we're moving the landscaping
Into
to
the
put those
middle.
parking spots and then adding the new landscaping.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
All right.
Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment? Seeing none, any final comments from the petitioner? I'm sorry, would you like to make any final comments? Thank you. Back to the board for action.
I'll move approval of UV-28-16, use variance based on the findings and with the conditions of approval set forth in the staff report.
Any other comments? Carmen, call the roll, please.
Throgmorton,
Yes.
Clapper,
Yes.
Aquila,
Yes.
Hoffman.
Yes.
I don't know.
Motion passes, petition granted. Thank you. Next up, UV-29-16, when staff is ready to present.
Not really. Do I do? Oh, it is it? Oh, okay. That's good enough. Sorry, we're having a little technical difficulties. This property is located at 1301 West 6th Street. It's the southwest corner of 6th Street and North Adams Street. It is 0.26 acres. It's zoned RC residential core, and the GPP designation is urban residential. As you can see, it has been developed with a non-residential building and associated parking lot. It is a former place of worship. It hasn't been that for a number of years, and it has single-family residential surrounding on all sides. The petition before you this evening is a use variance request to allow the use photographic studio on the site. The use is not permitted in RC. Permitting the use on the site will allow for reuse of the existing building that is not obviously designed for residential purposes. The required site plan, were the petition to be approved, includes restriping the parking lot, new landscaping, and new sidewalks on both 6th Street and Adams Street. The GPP discusses incorporating non-residential services into the urban residential area, as well as the RCC district only really discourages commercial conversions of existing single-family homes in that zone. The Plan Commission recommendation, they also heard this on October 10th and forwarded to the BZA with a positive recommendation for the use variance 8-0. Staff recommends approval as well with two conditions, that the petitioner will work with staff to update the landscape plan to include some additional required plantings, and number two, that if no building permit is required, that they must obtain a change of use permit. Comments on both of those are that we have already worked with the petitioner and updated the landscape plan, so the one you see in the presentation this evening does meet code, and that would be what they would be installing. And they do need a building permit for the work that is being done, and they have already applied for that, so we have that as well. Staff found peculiar condition in this site with the fact that the property is developed with a non-residential building and associated parking lot in what is an otherwise residential zone. The property has obviously not been designed or developed for the mainly residential uses. Strict application of the UDO would constitute an unnecessary hardship because the UDO assumes residential development in this district, but again, this site is not designed for that, and a low-impact use would not have much effect, would not have a negative effect on the neighborhood. So I can answer any questions. You also saw in your packet that they received a letter of support from the Neighborhood Association.
Thank you. Petitioner's representative. Please state your name.
Kip May.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You have up to 20 minutes to present your case.
Okay, thank you. For the last 20 years, I've been operating a photography studio, actually behind the Chocolate Moose. That area has recently been sold for a new development, and so in the last year, I've been in search of a new location for my business. And this is mostly it's a family photography studio. It's a low volume studio, which means, you know, we have 1, 2, or 3 clients a day that come in and out. And we found this property to be an ideal site for a photography studio. I've been in communication with the Neighborhood Association, and I'm grateful to them for their encouragement and support and affirmation. And so that's my hope, to convert this building, bring it up to code. It's been in disuse for some time and requires quite a bit of work, and we're prepared to do that and bring everything up to city code.
Thank you. Any questions for staff and/or petitioner by the board? Okay. Anyone in the public like to comment at this time? We're going to make you work for it, I'm sorry. Can you please state your name?
My name's David Walter.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You have up to 5 minutes for comments.
I've lived in this neighborhood for 35 years at Ritter Street, and my wife is here. She hasn't lived there quite as long, but I talked to our neighbors. They said that this originally was a grocery store, and then later, as long as I've lived there, it's been used as a church off and on. Some of the congregations did quite well, others have not. The building itself, as he said, has been deteriorating for some time. I'd like to mention that several years ago, improvements were made in our neighborhood. Down on 6th Street, stormwater improvements were done. Sidewalks and curbs were put in west of Ritter Street. At that time, the city asked the rest of the neighbors along 6th Street, should we continue these improvements on up to Adams? And the people who lived on that street said, no, we're not really interested in having curbs and sidewalks installed. I know a previous owner also was requested to put in a sidewalk along 6th Street. The problem there being there's such a change of grade, it becomes more like a flight of steps. And then likewise along Adams Street, the city put in sidewalks on the east side. They did not do it on the west side. They said there were problems again with getting right-of-way and grades. If they put sidewalks along there, they'd be right up against the houses along that side. So I see here where the recommendation is to do that. It's been discussed before. It really wasn't recommended at that time. So I just wanted to mention that. Other than that, I'm supportive of having this building rehabbed and a good neighbor move in. In our neighborhood, we have a number of commercial businesses. We've got a auto paint store. We've got the quality heating. We've got a couple more churches. We also have the ever-famous Kleindorfer's Hardware. So we're used to having commercial traffic through and around the neighborhood, and we actually welcome having this. So if there's anything else that you want to know, please ask. Otherwise, I'll finish my statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to comment? Any final comments from the petitioner? No? Thank you. Back to the board for action.
I will move approval of UV-29-16 based on the findings in the staff report and with the conditions of approval in the staff report.
I'll second that.
Any other comments? Carmen, call the roll, please.
Throckmorton,
Yes.
Clapper,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
She does not abstain.
Aquila?
Aquila.
Yes. Motion passes, petition granted. We are adjourned. Thank you.